The following program contains politically irreverent commentary. If you suffer from an exaggerated sense of self-importance, this show might not be right for you. Check with a PhD in PC, ASAP.
Proclaiming the truth in the highways and byways of the world. Fighting for justice in the dark alleys of politics. Raising the voice of resistance to a fevered pitch. And he knows where to find the best and worst jail food in America. Randall Terry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the broadcast. The deadly Doherty gang captured. Ooh, more people know their name than know the name of the new Chinese aircraft carrier. We've got that name on today's program as well. Plus, the Dow collapsing, gold going crazy through the roof, and investors just don't know what to do. We're here today, not to make sense of it all, but to make jokes, because after all, who could make sense of it? Except perhaps Rush. Today's program brought to you in part by Rush Limbaugh, the greatest broadcaster in our lifetime. And I say it because I mean it. And by Rachel Maddow. She's not that intelligent, she's not that funny, and she's really not that good looking. But she's got a show on MSNBC, and I don't. I'll be right back after a quick word from my friend, Sir Reginald Bling. Just turn the thing on, I got something to say. Do you even know what class warfare is? Class warfare is when the government stokes people up and says, well, you don't have too much, and that man over there, he got a lot, and you should be able to get some of what he has. Well, you know, in the old days, that just meant you worked harder. Maybe you could be into some new money, and you could create some widget or gadget or thing, and you could become a wealthy man. It's happened many, many times in America. But now, they are calling back to that devil, Karl Marx, and telling people, no, you deserve what that man has. You don't have to work for it. All you got to do is vote for us, and we will take it from him and give it to you. Well, that to me sounds like slavery. And I don't want to go back to the slave plantations, whether they're the Deep South, the High North, or the federal plantation where Barack Hussein Obama and Nancy Pelosi and John Boehner are the masses. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the program. First, some big personal news for our team. I have been invited, along with many other people, to join Glenn Beck in Israel for the Restoring Courage event. There will be hundreds of people there, perhaps over 1,000, standing in solidarity with the nation of Israel. I've accepted the invitation. Special thanks, by the way, to those who have sponsored our team, especially to a good friend who got me my ticket. I really appreciate it. We are going to show our solidarity with the nation of Israel. They have a right to exist. And my position is simple. They have a right to stand against Islamic terrorism or against any nation that is committed to their destruction. And they have the right to determine what they do with the lands that they acquired from the conflicts against nations, started by those nations, nations who were committed to Israel's enslavement and even their destruction. And I'm speaking specifically of the Golan Heights, the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip. I ask you for your prayers. Pray for all of us that we'll be safe, and pray that we are able to show some good solidarity with the people of Israel, as well as get some good footage for our television show while we are there in the Holy Land. All right, on to a lot of news. This show is going to go by boom, 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 so fast. First of all, the Doherty gang, those deadly, crazy young people captured. Thank God no one was killed. But folks, more people will follow that Doherty story in the 48-hour window where they have their moment of fame. The fact that she was a stripper, she fell out of the car, opened fire on the cops, the police shot her in the leg, her brother is a sex offender. They've been literally cruising across the country, eluding police for over a week. And what does it all mean? It means that we as a people have lost our minds, that we are more focused on that than what is happening right now in China, or with the Dow, or with the potential of QE3, or with any number of things that could lead to our slow and steady death, our demise as a nation. We're concerned once again with bread and circuses. Please, God, help us. Please wake us up. Please, God. All right, this program is designed to be an alarm clock for your soul, for your intellect, and a call for you to take action. So let's move on to some significant news with China. By the way, I want to thank Rush Limbaugh, for any of you who have heard it already, for giving us how does he say it? There was Barackalypse now and Obamageddon. That's one of the reasons I love Rush Limbaugh. I really do. He's a brilliant man. He's a great broadcaster, and he's great with the turn of a phrase. When I grow up, I want to be like Rush Limbaugh and Stephen Colbert and perhaps John the Baptist as well. Yes, John the Baptist first, as a matter of fact, except I don't want my head cut off by an angry king. Yes. All right. China. China has sent out its first aircraft carrier for tests. China won that aircraft carrier in a card game with Russia. In fact, they actually have two of them. One of the aircraft carriers is for military purposes, and the other, I'm not making this up, is going to be a luxury hotel. Some people in China bought it and thought, let's make it into a posh hotel where people who are curious about aircraft carriers can come and stay. So maybe they'll go out in tandem. The one that's the hotel could go, and all the people in the media and the rich and the famous could be in that one, and they could follow the military one into areas of conflict, kind of like at Bull Run in the Civil War. Okay, that didn't work. The Chinese actually have been requested to give an explanation to the U.S. government as to why they even need an aircraft carrier. Well, I think that the reason is shown in the name that the Chinese have given the aircraft carrier. They're calling it the Red Army Shark. The Shark, S-H-A-R-C. And that stands for Shanghai Hong Kong Asset Recovery Carrier. Yeah, they're in business to do business. If you owe the Chinese money, you can expect a visit from the Shark. And their first flotilla is scheduled to be off the coast of Washington, D.C., where they're going to fly sorties in their fighter bombers over the Fed. As a little reminder that they hold 25% of U.S. debt. What kind of a moronic question is it? Why do the Chinese need an aircraft carrier? Let me tell you a little story. When Nixon and Kissinger and their team of heaven knows what they were, went to visit Mao Zedong and the Communist Chinese to normalize relations with this massive communist regime, they heard a word they had never heard before, hegemon or hegemony. A hegemon is somebody who exerts power and authority over a region and keeps it cohesive with its policies. And basically, what the Chinese communicated to the Americans at that time is that they are the region's hegemon. Friends, the Chinese don't look at the movement of time like we do, from election cycle to election cycle. They don't even look at it in terms of decades. They look at it in terms of centuries and millennia. They look at it in terms of dynasties and empires, okay? This is a proud and ancient people. And Confucian philosophy, which dominates China, holds that China is the center of the earth. And there are those that are in their hegemonic region that are subservient to them. And then you have the barbarians that are on the outskirts of the earth. And you can trust me in this. China intends, in its own mind, to slowly but surely rebuild its status, first as the hegemon for that region. And then, if they get their way, please God, don't let it happen, they would be the hegemon of the world to determine policy, economically, militarily, and if they had their way, with the types of governments that the nations of the world had. They hold 25% of our debt. And so, all kidding aside, it's no laughing matter that they now have an aircraft carrier. And trust me, if the Russians will sell them two, why not a third? Why not a fourth? Joe Biden will be visiting the Chinese president, Hu Jintao, in the next few days, and he'll ask questions. The Chinese will say, why are you selling F-16s and submarines to Taiwan? there'll be some more of the tit for tat back and forth. The Russians sell an aircraft carrier to China. We sell F-16s and submarines to Taiwan. Friends, our next major military conflict could very well be with the Red Chinese. And for those of you who think that communism is dead, you must have drank the Kool-Aid. Look at Red China. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to look at Syria and at Israel, and we have a great comedy skit coming up for you in segment 3. It's about the slave labor force on the Obama plantation. We cut this one right in front of the White House. Woo!
There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover. That explains a lot about why they'll be white.
Moments with Moses. Cursed shall you be when you come in, and cursed shall you be when you go out.
All right, let's talk about the Middle East for a minute. First of all, in Tel Aviv, about 45 minutes from Jerusalem, over 250,000 people have set up a tent city in posh, ritzy neighborhoods to complain about the disparity of wages. It's kind of funny. I wonder if they've got good rock bands. I shouldn't kid about this, but it kind of has a Woodstock feel about it. We'll see what happens. We're going to Israel. As I said, if you just joined us, our team is headed to Israel to stand with Israel for their independence, for their security in the Restoring Courage event put on by Glenn Beck and his associates, spearheaded by Glenn Beck. I'm happy and proud to go and to stand with Israel, and I thank Glenn Beck for the invitation and for standing with Israel. We will land in Tel Aviv. Maybe we'll get to go by the tent city. If we do, I promise you we'll bring back some footage for the television show and we'll keep you posted. On other news in the Middle East, the Obama administration is weighing right now whether it should put pressure on Bashar al-Assad for him to resign. Al-Assad, all right? Now listen to me. Syria is on the U.S. terrorist list. They are a state sponsor of terrorism, okay? We do not have normal relations with Iran and with Syria because they are state sponsors of terrorism, and with North Korea for that matter. So what pressure could we possibly bring on Assad? However, just for comic relief, let's pretend that we're one of Assad's advisors. Who was the last dictator that America put pressure on to resign? And he did. Hosni Mubarak. Yeah, the president of Egypt. And where is Hosni right now? In a bed, in a cage, in a courtroom. Mr. Assad, we suggest to you that you resign your post so that the people of Syria can try you and put you in a cage like Hosni. You can actually have closed-circuit TV between you and Mubarak and say hi to each other while you're both on trial. Is this insane? Libya's leader, Muammar Gaddafi, he's being shot at, or at least his forces are being shot at by the U.S. government. What do you think is going to happen to him when he resigns? This is fantasy land. I said it before. I'm going to say it again. The Arab Spring is a farce. These protests all over the Arab world are mostly being spearheaded by the Muslim Brotherhood and their associates. And what they want is they want to overthrow tyrants who don't believe in the full implementation of Sharia law, and then they want to restore those tyrants with a tyrant called a caliph and the tyranny of Sharia law. It's just a matter of one tyranny being a little bit more in line with Islamic orthodoxy. So this notion of an Arab Spring, if there is an Arab Spring, it's blood red, all right? And it's calling for the implementation of Sharia law. The Arab Spring has produced a bouquet of weeds. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about money. Boom, 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 boom.
The GOP, girly men on Prozac. We've never seen a fight we didn't run from.
Don't try to be subtle or clever. Use a pile driver. Hit the point once, then come back and hit it a second time. a tremendous whack. Sir Winston Churchill. Welcome back to the program, friend. This has been a crazy, I repeat, crazy week economically for the world. The Fed says it's going to keep interest rates at near zero. The Dow has lost double digits of its value in the past few weeks. It rallied back a little bit on Tuesday, only on Wednesday to collapse over 500 points. Gold at that point jumps to over $1,800. Silver goes up $1.50, but as of the time of this recording, was still around $40 an ounce. So this is chaos. It's chaos. We don't know how this is going to bottom out. Meanwhile, the euro is in a crisis. Italy is dangling on the edge and could drag the entire euro down. And now there's rumblings that France might be downgraded by Standard & Poor's. I mean, that was one of the things I raged on the other day. So all of that to say this. I believe that history will show guilt and folly in the U.S. Congress and in the presidency for at least 20 years, maybe more, to get us into this mess. However, when that guilt is looked at, what they're going to say is that it was President Obama who, instead of slowing us down, put the pedal to the metal and drove us off a cliff at 120 miles an hour. All right? This economic crisis has exploded under his watch, and he will not be able to escape that in history. How it'll affect all of us, I don't know. But this I can tell you, I am not content to be a slave laborer on Obama's plantation or anyone's plantation for that matter, Mitt Romney and John Boehner included. So, a little while ago, we did a skit in front of the White House. It's about us being slave laborers on Obama's plantation. It's a little edgy, but that's what we do here. I hope you enjoy it. Be back in a second. Maybe some of these people, like Ginsburg said, Justice Ginsburg, they want to get rid of some of the undesirables. So if they kill some of these minority babies in the poor neighborhoods, then they won't grow up to become criminals. That might be what they're thinking.
Oh, I'm singing Mary. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. And tell Martha not to moan. Martha, don't you moan. Singing Mary, Mary. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Tell Martha, don't you moan. Martha, don't you moan. I said Pharaoh.
Ladies and gentlemen, we recognize that this is offensive, and it's meant to be. Because what President Obama is proposing to do with our money is an offense against God and man. He wants us to pay for the murder of our neighbor. He wants to take our money and kill the unborn. With our money. Abortion is the greatest crime on the face of the earth right now. And Obama wants us to pay for it. To be complicit in the murder of the innocent. This is a crime against God and man. We need to send a message to the President. Mr. President, we will not comply. We will not go along with your intention to kill the innocent with our money so that they can kill babies. Then they are compelling us to be accomplices to the slaughter of the innocent. I'll give you my money, Mr. President. You will.
And you know why? I have to pay for health care.
That's right, and we'll give you money so you can kill the babies, Mr. President.
That's right, because if we kill the babies, they won't grow up and they won't need health care, will they?
We'll save a lot of money on health care if we just kill them early, Mr. President.
And that's right. Now we'll go after the old people because they're not taxpayers.
They suck too much money out, Mr. President.
That's right.
They don't need an operation. We need to use our money to kill the babies, Mr. President. Yes, sir, Mr. President.
It's all about money.
I'll be a good worker.
What can I do?
I'll be a good worker on your plantation, Mr. President. I'll obey you, Mr. President. I'll be a good worker, Mr. President. I'll give you my money so that we can kill the babies.
Pharaoh's army was drowned in the Red Sea. Singing Mary. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Don't you let those tears fall from your eyes. Don't you weep. Oh, Mary, 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 don't you weep. Oh, Mary. Oh, Mary, don't you weep. Oh,
We will resist. We will not go along with the murder of babies. We will resist. Do not let them take your money to kill the unborn. It is a crime against God and man.
Insurrect the next.
Insurrect the next.
Well, I hope you liked it. We are a wild team, friends. In our nation's capital, our voice is heard, I promise you, on TV, in the newspaper, on radio, in skits in front of the White House or in front of the Capitol or in front of the Supreme Court. We are holding up the truth, whether it's through the word preached, press conferences, or in cases like that, where we just use some street theater to make a point, like a lot of the prophets did in the Bible. I'll be right back with a quote from one of our founding fathers.
If the Lord had not been my help, my soul would soon have dwelt in the land of silence. When I thought, my foot slips, thy steadfast love, O Lord, held me up.
Patrick Henry said, "It is when people forget God that tyrants forge their chains." Friends, we must be unafraid and unapologetic as we bring God and His laws back into the public square, back into the political debate, because if we do not have the laws of heaven as the foundation for this republic, as the foundation for civilization, then anything goes. And ultimately, you and I can't even condemn something as wrong or praise something as right, because the very concepts of right and wrong fade away like a morning mist. Thank you, Patrick Henry, for that quote. All right, I again ask you for your prayers. We are headed for Israel. We have taped a special 10-part series specifically for clergy and anyone who has a pastor. It's called A Humble Plea. 10 parts, and I promise you, it is theological and philosophical dynamite. You're going to love it.